Welcome to our third session on the simplex method of solving linear programming problems. Okay, last class we looked at the tableau. We drew the tableau and we filled in the values in the tableau. Okay, now we are looking at how we can make this particular variable here or digit or figure there and this digit equal to 0, so that we can meet the standard of the matrix. Okay, so in this case we are saying that for a matrix, each column can only have one value of 1. Okay, just as the row can only have one variable of 1. So you have a 0 there, you have a 0 because you have a 1 here. And because you have a 1 there, you have a 0 there and you have a 0. Now, because we have a 1 here, we need to have a 0 here and we need to have a 0 there. But what do we do to our original equation, to our original table, in order to make this particular 4 equal to 0? Okay, so basically what we are using is this second line or equation. Okay, so what can we do to this particular equation or to this particular variable or digit, which is 1, to make the 4 0? So you know that if you want to neutralize a number, you get the opposite of itself. Okay, since that is a 4, you get a negative 4, so that negative and positive cancel each other. Okay, so how can we make this particular number this one to be negative 4? Is by multiplying 1 by negative 4. So we multiply 1 by negative 4. Okay, and when we do that to one of the row, we do it to all other digits in that particular row. So what we are saying then is, for this particular row, we are going to multiply, and remember this is row 2. Okay, if this is row 1, then this will be row 2 and that will be row 3. Okay, and if we are dealing like that, we want this to be negative 4 so that it cancels out, meaning we multiply row 2 by negative 4. Okay, so if that is the case, then what we are going to have is negative 4 R2 plus R1 should give us 0, isn't it? Let's try to replace 1. That is a 1 there, isn't it? Because there's a value of 1 here. So we put 1, which is row 2, isn't it? Then we get the value of row 1. Since there's nothing here, we go to our table above. We have a 4 there under row 1 here, this 4. So we put it as 4. So negative 4 multiplied by 1 is negative 4 plus 4. This will give us 0, isn't it? So we put our value of 0 here. Okay, we go to the second position, which is a half here. So we multiply negative 4. We are multiplying negative 4 by half. So let's put the formula first. Negative 4 R2 plus R1. Okay, and we are saying negative 4. What is R2 in the second place or second position? Is a half. Okay, plus R1. What is the value of R1 in the second place? Second place has a 3. Okay, so let us input a 3 there. Okay, so we're going to have negative 4 multiplied by half is negative 2 plus 3, which will give us a positive 1, isn't it? So we are putting a 1 here. Okay, we go to the third place. We have a 0 on row 2. So that means that will become 0 negative 4 multiplied by 0 plus row 1. What is the value of row 1? So we have row 1. We have 1 there. Okay, we have 1. Let us put 1. So we have negative 4 multiplied by 0 is 0 plus 1. So which will give us 1. So the value here will be 1, isn't it? Okay, definitely. We go to the fourth place. Okay, our row 2 is half. Yeah, row 2 is half. So row 2 is half. So we are saying -4 multiplied by row 2, which is half, plus what is row 1? What is the value of row 1 where there's half? There's a 0 here. I'm sure we can, where is it? Okay, there's a 0 here. I'm sure we can see it. So let us put the value there of 0. So we have -4 multiplied by half is -2 plus 0. So that will remain as -2. So we put a -2 there. Okay, we go to the fifth place, which is the Z there. We have a 0 on row 2 and a 0 on row 1. So we have 2 zeros there. So we're going to say -4 multiplied by 0 plus 0. So this will give us 0. So then we put a 0 there. Okay. We have a 50 on row 2 on the right hand side and a 240 on the row 1. Okay, so then we're going to have so we're saying -4 row 2, which is 50, plus row 1. Row 1 is 240, isn't it? Okay, when you add this, we have a -200 plus 240, which is giving us 40, isn't it? Positive 40. Okay, so we are taking 40 here. Okay, good. So we have done that with row 1. We have made 0 here. Okay, so we need to make this particular row 3 have a 0 also here. We do the same logic that we did. Okay, I'm erasing these ones. Okay, we do the same logic which we applied on the first row. Okay, so what do we have in the third row? We have a -70. So how can we have a 0 there? By introducing the opposite of it, a positive 70, isn't it? Okay, positive 70. So if we are introducing a positive 70, where are we introducing? We are multiplying the positive 70 with the second row. Okay, so meaning we are going to have a formula of this sort, which is, so we want to introduce a positive, the opposite of the -70, right? And we multiply it with row 2, which is the pivot row, okay, where the key number was. Okay, then plus row 3, which is what we are trying to change to make it 0. Okay, what we have then, we know that in the row 1 there we have a 1, isn't it? We have a 1 there, plus in the third row we have a -70, which is -70 here. Okay, so 70 by 1 is 70. Positive times negative is negative, isn't it? Okay, so that will give us 0. So we then going to have our 0 here. Okay, we do the same on the second place. Second place we have a half, a 1/2 in the second row. So meaning, since the formula is 70 R2 plus R3, we are going to have 70 multiplied by half plus -50. Since -50 is what is in the second place of row 3, isn't it? Okay, let's try to see what we will have then. So 70 by half, that is 35. Negative times positive is -50. So what is 35 minus 50? That will give us -15, isn't it? -15. Okay, let's put -15 there. -15. So we do the same for third, fourth, fifth, and the right hand side. Let's see what we're going to have. Okay, so after inputting the variables, this is what we have. Okay, so let me just copy down on this side so that we are able to follow through. Let me copy the formulas that we use. On the first row, we used -4 R2 plus R1, isn't it? On the third row, we used 70 R2 plus R3. Okay. Now, having done this, the only point we are going to stop is when we don't have any negative in the in row 3, in the objective function. We don't want any negative. So we have again to start all over again what we did. We identify the most negative. Okay, we identify the most negative. So you realize that now the previous stage we had -70 and -50. -70 was the most negative, and that gave us the pivot column. In this case, in the third row, which is the objective function, the most negative is -15. That is the most negative. Okay, we then have our new pivot column. Okay, then we divide again the way we had divided. Okay, let me recreate this table. Okay, I've recreated the table, and what we are saying is that we have identified our new pivot column, right? Then we divide these particular digits we have of our pivot column into the right hand side. So what then we're going to have is 40 divided by, we have a 1 there, divided by 1, then 50 divided by half, and 3,500 divided by -15, right? Okay, what do we have? Okay, so we have 40 and 100 there. Okay, since we have divided and we have found those particular values, we ask ourselves, which is the most or is the smallest positive number amongst the two? So we have 40 and 100. The smallest positive is 40, obviously, isn't it? So we will circle the row in which we have the smallest positive, okay, giving us our new pivot row, right? Then we have an intersection there. The intersection is 1. Remember that the intersection was 2 in the previous. Then we said we needed to make the intersection number equal to 1. Okay, and we divided by itself. So 2 divided by 2, it gave us this particular 1 here. Now in this case, we already have a 1. So there is no need of dividing or multiplying, because the number that we want is what we have, which is a 1. So basically the next stage then is, how do we make the other two, this particular half and then -15, equal to 0, so that we only have 1 there up, then we have zeros there. Just as we were looking at our, our matrix, 0, 0, 1, in that order, where you don't want 1 to repeat itself. So you can only have 1 in each row or column. So basically, since we have a 1 there as our intended value, we make half and -15 equal to 0. Okay, we are going to do that in our final class or in our final section.